It's the 50th anniversary of Jaws, and we're taking a big bite into all the scary things this movie makes us think about, and we're doing a deep dive into whether or not this movie is as iconic as it's been made out to be for 50 years.
In an overcrowded graveyard, the scream will rise. Cool Mates Entertainment presents Not Another Spooky Podcast.
Welcome back to Not Another Spooky Podcast, where we watch horror movies and talk about all the spooky things they make us think about. Think of it as spooky in the front,
horror in the back.
I'm Mandy Spooks.
And I'm Rabbit Loves Horror. We're just two lifelong besties keeping the spook alive together, one bloody popcorn bucket at a time.
Today, we're splashing into some creepy cryptid conversations, and then we'll review Jaws in the second half of this episode. To set the vibe for this episode, we're going to start off with a little game of Bone, Marry, Slash. Oh! And it's about to get very interesting because I have a feeling Rabbit's not going to like any of today's characters. I should have thrown Bruce in. For those of you who don't know, Bruce is the name of the shark in Jaws. At least it's like what the production crew would call him. So I should have thrown Bruce in just for fun for you, but we're not going to do that.
That would have been fun. Yeah, I probably would have chose Bruce. Wait, I have a question really quick about Bruce. Is Bruce a man or a woman? Like, is he supposed to be a male shark? I'm not sure if they
I don't think there is a clear answer on that, so we'll call him them, non-binary. But the crew called him Bruce because I think one of the people who was working on it, his lawyer's name was Bruce, so he was like a shark.
Oh, okay.
So they just started calling him Bruce. It was like an inside joke. Okay, I know you're avoiding the question though. So you're
Trying
like, I'm
to make you
gonna delay
forget
this as long as possible. So we have the three main characters of Jaws, which are Brody the Chief, Hooper, and Quint.
Oh gosh. I feel like I'm already gonna
Sorry, one moment. Before we continue, I want you guys to know that this is basically going to be a spoiler-filled episode. If you have not seen Jaws in the last 50 years, that is on you. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's a struggle going into this without kind of spoiling my part of the review because I did not particularly like any of these characters. So I'm really digging deep right now to figure out who I want to marry because I don't want to marry any of them. Okay, let's slash Quint. I feel like he is... I really don't know the lore that well of Jaws or the following of Jaws, but I have a feeling people really like Quint, but I didn't particularly like him, so I'm going to slash him. And I'll bone Hooper, and I guess I'll marry the Chief just because... I don't know. No, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to bone the Chief, and then I'll marry Hooper. He just seems like, I don't know, the one I could get along with the most out of all three of them. What about you?
Oh my gosh, this is going to be such an interesting episode. Well, my lineup is the same, but I do have reasonings. Reasonings. That's not even a word. Okay, so I would slash Quint because although he is a very likable character to me, he is very crazy and unhinged, and I do not need that in my life. He would constantly put us in danger. The Chief is all right, but not, there's something just, not interesting about him for me as, a marriage partner. So we'll bone him. And then Hooper, I absolutely love. Marry 100%. I would take him in a heartbeat. He's such a cute little nerd with a few real life skills. So I'll take it.
I like that we both ended on the same decisions, even though we have different views of this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
That was interesting.
All right, let's get into some
haunted housekeeping.
All right, Ghoulsters, we want to start off by saying thank you so much to all the new listeners. Our views and our listens are finally going up, so snaps for that. Thank you and welcome to Not Another Spooky Podcast. Just a reminder, as the Haunted Record is going to continue to keep saying, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, rate us on Spotify, and if you're tuning in on YouTube, chime in on the conversation. We have gotten some really cool long comments, which is so cool to see that you guys are like actually listening to the entire episode and have your own thoughts. So don't be afraid to leave a comment if you're on YouTube. Tell us what your Bone Mary / lineup would be, whether or not you're on Rabbit or Mandy's side on this episode, because things are going to get interesting. And then in other news, I did want to share that my next Fanghoul Film Club watch party is coming up on Patreon. It's not a horror movie, but it is spooky for all the spooky ghouls out there who like a little bit of creepy cute. We're going to be watching Night Books on July 28th. So if you have not seen it and you like kind of like the spooky pop culture too, and not just the horror, I recommend joining us. You can join for $5 for Fanghoul Film Club, and you get lots of other perks. But the movie is, I don't know, it was very surprising to me. Have you heard of it?
I've never heard of this movie.
So it's the girl from Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 20 something. I don't remember the name of the show. She's the main character and she plays a witch, and she reminds me a lot of Katy Perry in this movie. And it's kind of like, I don't want to spoil it, but it's almost like a retelling of Hansel and Gretel, but it's really good. I really liked it.
Oh, that sounds kind of fun. Is it
yeah.
new?
No, it's a Netflix movie, and I think it was a book series that they just didn't continue. And I'm like, but the movie was so good. So I'm looking forward to watching it again with everyone.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
And also, I know Rabbit won't do this himself, so I'm going to do it for him. But he has been creating a lot of more content now on his platforms, so please go check him out. I love the variety. Like, some days we get some spooky shopping. Some days we get, like, horror deep cuts, like deep cut jokes. Sometimes we get decor reviews. Today you had your first PSL. Like, I don't even know who you are anymore.
I know. Well, yeah, spoiler alert for the Keeping the Spook Alive. But yeah,
sorry.
It's okay. My account is kind of like all over the place. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what I enjoy doing the most. So I have like some silly meme voiceover stuff on there too. I don't know. I'm just having fun with it. I guess you can say.
No, I love it. And I think that you experimenting with it is making it fun, because I never know what I'm going to like open up my apps to, which has been really exciting. So if you guys are not following him on social yet, be sure to follow him, because I think it's going to get really fun up in there.
I hope so. I hope you all like it.
All right, let's get into our new segment, The Scream Sheet, our weekly breakdown of what has us shrieking with excitement. Okay, so I have to say, as always, because I'm very superstitious, not just a little stitious, superstitious, afraid of all the things, I am not inviting any negative energy in when I share this. But I did want to share a few episodes ago, I don't even remember what episode it was, we talked about how Annabelle was going on a little tour and everyone was freaking out over it. And breaking news, Dan Rivera, a 54-year-old paranormal investigator and the handler of Annabelle, died unexpectedly on July 13th, a very spooky date, in a Gettysburg, Pennsylvania hotel room while participating in the Devils on the Run tour with the New England Society for Psychic Research. Authorities say there was no suspicious circumstances surrounding his death, but an autopsy is pending with results expected to come in 60 to 90 days. Around Halloween time, what? And they are saying that the doll was not in his possession, but she is likely to be parked in the hotel somewhere. But the authorities can't confirm where she is, which makes it all very suspicious. So stay safe out there and do not be messing with any negative energies while Annabelle is on the loose. That's all I'm going to say.
I think I don't know. I think I'm in the same boat as Mr. Spooks, where I'm like, is it just coincidence? But I will say that would be a really good spin-off movie or like an addition to the Conjuring series. That would be kind of interesting. if they incorporate this real life event into the movies. So maybe we'll have to wait for like Conjuring 11 or something.
I know Annabelle was like, last rites? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
The story ends when I say it does. Oh my gosh, I'm not inviting anything in. We should not be making jokes about that. All right, what do you have for us?
All right, so for me, I wanted to bring up again Horror Nights. I guess the one big thing happening right now, or the thing that everybody's talking about in Horror Night news, is the Terrifier is officially announced. There were even some people posting pictures of the facade that they're building for the house, and it looks like it's going to be the fun house from the second movie where they get lured into, and it's kind of like at the carnival, that carnival scene. So that sounds really fun and interesting. Some more things about it. John Murdy on Twitter, the creative director of Universal, he pretty much said, you won't come out of this, the other side, the same. At least your clothes won't. And
Ew.
then said, I'd bring a poncho. So those are quotes from his Twitter. And I'm kind of scared. I am not the biggest Terrifier fan. He freaks me out. Like looking at him grosses me out. And I don't know. I know there's some people online that are kind of like super happy about this and kind of, what's the word, lusting over him in a way. And I don't see that at all. I think he's disgusting. So it's just weird seeing how people are so excited for him to be there. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to see him there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do, because I want to get freaked out. But I think he's disgusting. Sorry if you're a Terrifier fan. But then he went on and made some more comments, or he was like replying to people tweeting him. And he said that there's going to be, like, it was going to be really smelly, and jokingly said, I wouldn't go into the bathroom. So now I'm even more scared that he's saying not to go into the bathroom because it smells, and to bring a poncho. And I'm just hoping that they don't throw like poop at me, or I don't know. I don't know how extreme and how gory this house is going to be, but he says it's going to be crazy. So I'm just really worried about going to this house. So I might save it for like the last house we go to. And maybe bring a change of clothes or something.
Yeah, I immediately just thought of how like even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre haunt smelled gross. So this has to smell worse. I don't know. I think we're eventually probably we have to cover the Terrifier at some point, yes. But I too am not the biggest fan. I respect what people love about it, but it's not my cup of tea. Oh my God. I don't know. Like, I just like the smell thing immediately had me at no. And then like bring a poncho. It's like, dude, I plan my looks if I'm going to an event like this. So yeah, I don't know. You're right. I would definitely leave it till the end, or just like make sure you watch spoilers of people's reviews before you go.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to watch the spoilers, but I'm gonna leave it for the end. But did you ever go on the Exorcist house, or was that the year that you weren't able to come?
No, we went. That was the same year.
Okay. That one smelled really bad too. So like, I don't know if you remember that you walked into the forest area and it just smelled like feces. It was disgusting. I didn't know if like, is the bathroom not working? That's why we were like walking into this area. But afterwards, I either put something on Instagram or something, and somebody replied to me like, oh, that was the point. And I was like, oh, that was part of the experience, but I didn't realize it.
Wait, well, maybe there's been more than one Exorcist, because I don't remember that at all.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, I think you were here for the first Exorcist movie, I guess you can say.
Yeah, the original.
Then they had the Believer episode, or the Believer franchise or movie adaptation there, where it was the two girls that went missing.
Oh, no, I did not go to that one.
Okay, then that one, there was a scene where you go in the forest and it just smelled really, really bad. And I didn't know if it was the bathroom or if it was like part of the experience, but I guess it was. And if they're going to use a similar or the same smell, I'm going to be so disgusted.
Oh, I feel bad for those people who are like not actual horror Halloween junkies like us that are gonna go because it's just like cool to go during Halloween and
Right.
have no idea how bad Terrifier really is and that they should not just like go in there for fun.
Yeah, I'm worried for those people too. And I'm also concerned for the scare actors because they're going to be in that zone
True.
smelling that all night long. That's so gross.
That is
I'm
so
so sorry
true.
you have to suffer through that.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, Ghosters, it's time for our favorite chat of the week, Keeping the Spook Alive.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right, Rabbit, sorry for the spoiler, but how else are you keeping the spook alive?
Yeah, so this week we went to a local coffee shop called Burnt Umber. The decor is very goth-like, very Victorian. They had their own version of pumpkin spice lattes year-round. So I was like, you know what? Let's have my first pumpkin spice latte of the year. And it was really good. We also had a cinnamon roll, and that was really good too. But I think if you're in the Southern California area, definitely check that out. Or if you're visiting the area, definitely check that place out because it was really, really good. The staff was really friendly, and there's a bunch of photo ops. I didn't really take photos of me in the shop, but I just took videos of the shop and all the different decor that they had there because it's really nice. You can check that on my TikTok or any other social media. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to just go somewhere, sit and have a coffee and eat a little pastry and be surrounded by spooky decor. What about you?
That sounds super fun. Slowly been dipping my toes back in the spook. I watched the first I Know What You Did Last Summer to get ready for next week's episode. And then I also finished. No, I did not finish. I lied. I jumped back into Sirens. I had told you about how I started watching that show. So the girl in that show, it's Megan Fahey from Drop. And then it's
Okay.
the girl who's Supergirl in the new
Oh,
Superman, which is why I jumped back into it because I was like, oh yeah, I want to go finish the show. So that was a pleasant surprise going to see Superman. And I feel like maybe we should talk about Superman once I'm finished with my, just like a quick, like deep brief because we said so much last week. But what else? I also feel weird talking about what I'm doing here sometimes because it's so repetitive of like what you see on my channel. But in case there's anyone who doesn't, I guess I'll just keep sharing. I also had like a really cool spooky fashion haul from Weaselwear, which is the brand from Miss Von Frankenstein. It's been so cool to see her brand grow. I could have fangirled over her forever. Like, I think it's so cool what she's done of like building an entire clothing line and the production and the quality. So I'm super excited to wear more spooky looks this fall. Like, I'm ready for all the media events.
yeah. You sent me pictures because I haven't seen the video yet, but you sent me pictures of all the different items that you got, and they look really cool. And then you sent me a gown or like a mini dress. I don't know what kind of dress it's called, but that was really cute. So I was like, you know what? I might want to buy that for myself for like a
Yeah.
Halloween costume or something. I don't know. It was really cute stuff.
Yeah, I was like, I really hope this does well so she could keep sending me more stuff. So if you guys don't watch my channel, at least please go watch that video so that she could get all the love because she does deserve it. And hopefully we can keep this partnership going because I had so much fun doing it. I've wanted to do spooky fashion stuff because people always talk about my style and ask me questions. And I've always wanted to do videos, but they're very like, I don't know what to call it, like they take a lot of time to do, but also like it's a lot of energy to like be changing clothes so much for one video. We had just talked about this before joining. And I never had the time. So now that I have more time to actually work on my videos, I'm like, okay, this was really fun. And I think I want to keep doing more spooky fashion style things for my channel. Hopefully it does well because I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I hope it does well because it looks so fun.
Thanks. Okay, so super quick, we have to talk about Superman. It's kind of crazy. Our content or like our clips on social media did surprisingly well. A lot of people had a lot of opinions, but thankfully no one got like rude about it or anything. A lot of people misunderstood my slashes in session as like being about horror in comic books, and was like, no, we were talking about movies specifically. But I just want to say I was right. I feel like Monica. I'm right? Superman killed it. I still haven't checked how much it made, but I know it was very successful, so thankfully it did not flop. You were right about how it was definitely going to lean into the political commentary. Yeah, I was like, dang, I wish we could do an episode about this.
I know. It was so good. I definitely left the theater feeling hopeful for the future in a way, even though I feel nothing's going to change right away. But it just gave you that feeling of like, oh, you know, some people are good and some people do want to do good in the world. And I guess we just needed that reminder to, you know, say like, okay, yes, the world might be a dark place, but there are good people in the world. And sometimes that's worth living for.
Yeah, for sure. I got so emotional. Like, I did not expect to get so emotional, but when he gave his big, like, corny in-your-face speech at the end about being human and stuff, I was just like, yes, I was right. Like, America needs Superman and to be hopeful right now. And so, like, a lot of the comments we got on my little slashes in session was people saying, like, you're wrong. We should just go all in, and we do have horror. And I'm like, you don't get it. Like, I understand why people don't want that. Like, it's such a downer, especially today. So, yeah, I'm really happy that it did so well. James Gunn now has done a horror Superman and a, I guess, non-horror Superman, regular Superman. But yeah, it was really fun. So I know we're not supposed to talk about non-spooky stuff here, but I just really wanted to take a moment to give it the respect it deserved.
No, for sure. Yeah, and just to go or add more to the people commenting on the TikTok that we created and put out there. Yeah, there were people bringing up a lot of spooky or horror comics, but I think our point still stands where there aren't horror superhero movies. So I think Brightburn was really the only one. And there was one comment that brought up Blade, which I guess could count, but I don't think he's a superhero. I think he is an anti-hero. Like, his origin was that he was an anti-hero. So yeah, I think our point still stands. And I guess I don't want to go back to the comments and fight with everybody, but yeah, I think it's true. Superhero horror never really took off in movies. I'm sure there's a ton of comics. There's a ton of like zombie iterations of superheroes. But yeah, I don't know. There's not another movie like Brightburn for sure.
Yeah. And now I definitely think we're probably never going to get one. Like, it's pretty clear why we don't have them. So yeah, but it was pretty cool. It was cool seeing our first kind of like, it did not go viral by any means. I think it's like at 3,000 something views, but it was still interesting to see what the first piece of content that kind of like took off for us was going to be. And it was superheroes, like not even horror related, which was funny. All right, Ghoulsters, it's time to get into the spooky mood for today's main event of Jaws. So Slash is in session. Today's lesson is all about the Jaws effect and why the iconic dorsal fin still haunts our summer beach trips. When Jaws hit theaters in 1975, it changed everything. Suddenly, the ocean wasn't just a place to swim, it was a place to be hunted. Spielberg didn't just create a blockbuster, he created a new kind of monster, one that was a little too realistic. Before the movie, most people didn't think much about sharks, but after Jaws, panic ensued. Beaches emptied, and shark populations were demonized, and the fear stuck 50 years later. We're talking decades of nightmares and beachgoers scanning the waves like they were in a slasher flick, and yes, some of us may even get scared in a pool. But here's the twist that Jaws didn't show you. The actual odds of being bit by a shark are 1 in 3.7 million, which I was a little relieved to hear, but also still don't think that I'll be swimming in any oceans. You are literally more likely to be struck by lightning, attacked by a bear, or injured by a vending machine. And thankfully, I was relieved to learn that most sharks want nothing to do with us poor humans. We're not on the menu because humans are like pool noodles to the chompy creatures. So why are we still so scared? Because Jaws didn't just scare us, it programmed us. It made sharks the ultimate ocean slasher, and just like Freddy or Michael, they keep showing up in our nightmares whether the fear makes sense or not. So next time you're at the beach and you hear the dun 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 dun, just remember the real danger might just be sunburn.
Yes, for sure.
This was like such a hard one for me because there were so many directions I could have gone with Slashes in Session, but ultimately the number one thing that kept sticking with me the whole movie was just like, okay, but like how likely would it be? Because I plan to visit California many more times, and one of those things I want to do is experience summerween at an actual beach. But Rabbit learned this while visiting me. I cannot be near water and like not get in it or wet my hair. I'm never going to be the girl that like just like suntans and is cool with that. Like I love to be in the water. So I was just like, should I just like not get in though? Because it doesn't sound very safe.
No, yeah, I guess I kind of felt the same way when we started going to the beach a lot. But once you see everybody in there, and then like once one of your friends goes in there, it's like, okay, I kind of want to do it too. And it is kind of scary, you know, if you get a little too far, just because in a pool you have edges, you know, all around you. So like if you can't go to this edge, just go to the other edge. But this is like, you're surrounded by water all on one side. So it's a different kind of scary, I guess you can say, just because, you know, if you get pulled into that side, it's going to be danger for you. Unless the lifeguard comes. But yeah, it's definitely scary when you see the huge, like, open water. And then when your feet don't touch the ground, like if you go a little too far and your feet don't touch the ground, you're like, okay, this is really scary. Or if you do touch the ground and you feel it kind of like slimy, or I don't know, it's different, very different from a pool.
Yeah, for sure. So that brings me to today's spooky question of the day. Something I've been thinking about a lot is just how much the ocean terrifies me in general. But Mr. Spooks is terrified of space. So, would you rather be stranded in the ocean or in space?
Okay, so this one's kind of easy for me. Kind of. I would not want to be stranded in the ocean because, like you said before, the real danger is sunburn. And I am a ginger. So 1 hour out in the sun, stranded with no sunscreen, no sunblock, I will be being tortured by the sun. Like I would probably get like blisters. Yeah, I would not be having a good time. At least in space, I'll have a suit, I hope.
Yeah, or not, you'd die, right? I would assume.
And I'll have the silence, just, you know, just me hanging out in silence and just, I don't know, floating through space. Going out peacefully, just running out of oxygen, I guess you can say. But I don't have to worry about sunburn.
That's
what about
fair.
you?
Very fair reasoning. Definitely space. Although I think both are terrifying because
Yes.
I'm just afraid of the dark, period. But the idea of like, I mean, I guess space might feel the same because of like the whole gravity thing, you know? But I don't know. It just sounds like exhausting having to like keep swimming. And then, like, the air seems harder to deal with than in space for some reason. And to our knowledge, there's not, like, creatures out to eat you in space. To our
True.
knowledge. So I don't know. The ocean scares me so much. Like, movies where people are, like, stranded down in the ocean and you're, like, waiting for them to get rescued, those give me so much anxiety. Thankfully, there's not anything like that in Jaws because it's mostly him like coming out to get people. But like there are movies where like, I don't remember which one it was, but there was one with like Mandy Moore where she gets stranded underwater with like another person, I think. And the whole thing is them trying to like get back up. And it's just like too much when you can't like see what's around you or what direction you're going in. I don't know. It terrifies me.
For sure.
So,
and drowning sounds like a terrible way to go.
Yeah.
Drowning or being set on fire, those are just like the two worst things I can think of how to
Yeah,
die.
fire is my biggest fear. All right, Ghosters, it's time for the spoiler pack segment of the show. So if you don't want spoilers, this is your warning to turn back now and come hang out with us once you've seen the movie. Because if you have not seen Jaws, what are you even doing with yourself? What are we streaming and screaming to this week, Rabbit?
Alrighty, so this week we are streaming and screaming into Jaws 1975. It is a certified fresh movie with a popcorn meter of 90%. So this is definitely a very loved movie to have a 90% 50 years later. That's insane. So here is a summary. When a young woman is killed by a shark while skinny dipping near the New England tourist town of Amity Island, Police Chief Brody wants to close the beaches, but Mayor Larry Vaughn overrules him, fearing that the loss of tourist revenue will cripple the town. Ichthyologist Matt Hooper and grizzled ship captain Quint offer to help Brody capture the killer beast, and the trio engage in an epic battle of man versus nature. Sadly, Quint is killed and devoured by the shark, but in the end, Chief Brody manages to destroy the creature by firing at a tank of compressed air lodged in its mouth, causing a massive explosion. Alrighty, so it was directed by Steven Spielberg, produced by David Brown and Richard Zanuck. The screenwriter was Peter Benchley, and the cast, I'm going to talk about the three main characters, which is going to be Brody, which was played by Roy Scheider, Quint, who was played by Robert Shaw, and Hooper, who was played by Richard Dreyfuss. And I know you added some trivia in here. Did you want to go over that?
Yes. So full disclosure, I've got a lot of notes, and it's not because I'm some like Jaws enthusiast that I have all these crazy memories or that I like never remember things, but somehow I remember everything about Jaws. There is a new documentary on Hulu about Jaws for the 50th anniversary, so that helped a lot. I apologize if you saw it and I repeat some stuff, but some of it was just like, okay, I have to talk about this. But I do want to share that this is one of the highest grossing films in history. It was only made with $9 million, and they did go over in budget, which we're going to talk about later in today's episode. $9 million, and it made $476 million worldwide. And to put that into perspective, if you adjust it to 2025 and inflation, it would be $2.3 billion. Like, that is absolutely insane when you think about like Superman making like 120 something million this weekend. 2.3 billion. That's like 2 Eras tours, guys.
For real, that's not even 1 billion. That's like 2 billion.
Yes,
that's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. Can somebody give me a list of Steven Spielberg's family members?
Yeah, that man has billions and billions.
The original budget was $4 million, and they ended up having to spend twice that with $9 million. And I will share more about that later in today's episode. But I wanted to really emphasize just like when we say Jaws was a big hit, like this is how big it was. $2.3 billion back then. Some of the footage they showed in the documentary was like people literally wrapped around buildings like for blocks, like not just how people would like line up for Star Wars in the 90s or early O's, like lines. People were waiting hours and hours just to see this movie. Like, it's so crazy.
Wow, that's insane to hear.
That's it for me for now.
Yeah, wow, that's just so hard to comprehend, just how much money they invested in this movie and then how much they got back. That's just wild. Like, I can't get over the numbers.
I know.
But let's get into our initial reactions. So for me, this was my first time ever sitting down and actually watching the film. I feel like it's been on like I don't know, like in the summer, people are at like a house and you're there and they have it like on TV. But this is me, my first time sitting down, watching the movie, no interruptions. So I will say that I know this film is loved by a lot of people, or I guess you can say most people, because 90% people love this movie. But I, unfortunately, am part of the 10% of people who did not enjoy this movie. And I'm sorry to say that, but I really think that this movie was of its time. And I understand that that had such a huge impact at that time and what it's had on the film industry, but it just was not for me. And I'll get into it a little bit more later.
I am so shocked. Like, genuinely, I was like, he's gonna love this movie. Like, I know you so well, and I know that you love when there's like a little political commentary and things. And when you messaged me, I was just like, did you watch the right one? You guys got the wrong one. Like, you did not
Did you watch
the
Jaws
right
2?
movie. So that being said, I love this movie probably more every single time I watch it. Seeing it from the lens of like a filmmaker and learning what I did from the documentary was just like mind-blowing to me. And thankfully 90% of people agree, so I don't think I'm overhyping this.
No, you're not. You're not. All right, so let's get into the tone and the atmosphere. So I will say, when I first started the movie, I was so excited to get into it because I know it was such a beloved movie, and I was like, okay, let's get into it. Let's see what Jaws is all about. So Act 1, I was really into it, and I thought it was really good. It started like a slasher movie. Like, it starts with them at a campfire, and then like two of them sneak away, and a girl gets slaughtered, and you don't really see the beast, or you don't really see the killer, and you only see like a little portion here and there. So it had that same mystery to it, kind of like what a slasher would do in the beginning of a movie, kind of just go in with that big, strong kill, which was cool to see. I was like, okay, this is really good. This is like something lurking in the water, and it's going to be slowly killing people in the town. So I really, really liked Act 1 for sure. Then it turned into Act 2. And then for me, Act 2 just turned into a Western movie set at the beach or set at the sea. It was kind of like that standoff situation between like humans and the shark. But then also the dialogue between the characters felt a little dragged onto me. And it felt like they were talking about their times back in the wilderness or back in the Western days or like back in my day. And he even had like the accent to it. And I just couldn't keep my attention because I felt like it changed. At Act 2, I felt like it really turned into a Western type of movie. And I'm not a biggest fan of Westerns.
Interesting. Very interesting hearing your perspective. I feel like you're going to feel bad at the end of this episode, to be honest.
I am.
So
I already do.
That was actually a really good description, honestly, to like compare it to a Western standoff. Like I can respect that. I think that this movie is surprisingly fun for its time. The first time I ever watched this was in 2019, and it's one of those movies where I remember the date, place, and time of exactly what's happening in my life. Like, it was because I anticipated not loving it because, I don't tend to like older films that are slow burns. So I anticipated this to feel slow because I was like, how exciting could a shark get? It's older, so it's probably going to be slow. And I think that it is surprisingly very fast paced. Like, it starts off right away with the girl being bit, right into like the chaos of, are we going to close the beach or not? And then you're right, it does kind of slow down, but I think it's very intentional before you get into like all of the like fun stuff with the shark actually showing up. So I think that it's super fun. And as you know, I don't love things that really mess with my head. So it's like a fear that only lurks up occasionally when I'm near water. And so it lets me sleep at night, but I get all the fun thrills and scares watching the movie every time.
Yeah, it's like a contained fear for you.
Yes, for sure.
Which is fair. I get that. Okay, so the direction and cinematography. So there were some really cool shots in this movie. I will agree. I'm not saying this movie was bad. I don't want to say like, I'm not here to say this movie was bad, but it was just not for me. But there were some really cool shots in this movie. The one that really sticks out to me was when in the beginning, when Brody is at the beach, kind of like monitoring everything. The girl had already been murdered, and he was like on high alert. and people were playing around in the beach, and he was getting scared by like any noise that would happen. So he was just sitting there monitoring everything, and then something does happen or somebody does scream in the water, and the camera does this really weird zoom effect. I'm sure you know what it's called, but I put it in here so I know you could tell me what it is, where it does a zoom effect where he doesn't move, like his body doesn't move, but everything behind him just like zooms out. And I thought that was such a cool shot. And I really like that scene.
Yes. And I didn't know. I asked Rudy because as soon as we watched it, I was like, what is that kind of shot called? And it is called an accordion shot.
Oh, that's actually really fitting. Because, yeah, it just like expands. I don't know how a camera does that. Like, I'm very sorry. Can you hear that?
I heard something. I don't know what it was.
Okay, sorry. Something happened outside. But yeah, so that's the perfect name for that shot, accordion shot, because everything just kind of expanded behind him, but he just stayed right in the center, and that was really cool. Another thing I was impressed by was the underwater shots. I'm not sure how advanced the cameras were at that time. I don't know if that came up in the documentary, but for them to get that many underwater shots in such an old film, I don't know. I was very impressed with all that.
That surprisingly didn't come up, but I agree.
And another thing I liked about it, or the cinematography, was the camera was kind of like at sea level at times, and the waves would kind of like go up and down, and the audio would do the same thing. The audio would match, like you would feel like you're underwater, and then it would go away, and then you would feel like you're in regular air, and then go back underwater as the waves crash into the camera, and that was really cool. So I love the cinematography for sure.
Well, that's good. Yeah, so this movie is, hearing the struggles that happen behind the scenes made me not want to be a filmmaker, to be honest. It is absolutely insane. So it's great that you did recognize, especially the sea level thing, because Steven Spielberg took this job and he was like, I will not make this if you do not let me film this on location. Because he was like, in order for this film to actually feel real, immerse people and scare them, they have to believe that this is actually happening in the ocean. So he made that decision, and it actually led to a lot of problems because no one had ever really filmed at this capacity on the ocean. So it literally tripled their production time. They were delayed by, I think they had estimated like 40 something days, and then it took like 150 something days because it wasn't actually like the filming part. It was like the resetting after you would film a scene that would take so long because like with water moving and just like all of that. And then also it doubled the budget. So it was like originally 4 or 5 million and it ended up taking 9. And now I'm like, well, shoot, you guys could have used more money to make it more easy, whatever could have happened. So it was really cool that he decided to do that, to shoot it on location. But he has talked about how he had literal PTSD after filming this movie, and he would literally like find a spot at Universal and like go and cry after the movie was done, and like he had like severe anxiety attacks, which honestly I completely get, because like I'm working on like a freaking like 15-30 minute short film right now. Yeah, so the thought of being responsible for any type of feature film sends me into like total panic, yet alone like what happened for Jaws. Like, can you imagine being in the ocean for that long? Like, that sounds crazy, to be like so out of your element and then filming like a crazy movie that like nothing has ever been done like this before. So I completely get his PTSD. And it just sounds wild, honestly. Like, I can't even imagine, like, budget is the number one thing you're concerned about when you're making a film of any kind, because like you have to meet the budget. So to know that he just kept going over and over and over, I would like not sleep at night. Like, how are you gonna like tell someone, oh, I need another million. I need another million.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I know, like in my past job, that gave me anxiety, where I couldn't sleep, or I would wake up super early and I just couldn't go back to sleep. And I was worried about little things here and there. I guess now looking back, okay, those were little things, but at the time they were very big for me. But yeah, being in charge of this whole film and in charge of everybody that you're involved with, that sounds like, I don't know, anxiety for life. So I'm wondering, did he get like help afterward? Is he feeling better now from his anxiety from this film?
He didn't talk about how long it took to overcome it, but he does seem okay now about it. But yeah, like I completely get it. Getting into a little bit more of like the actual directing. I mean, that is all part of directing, right? Like that's what the director does. And I don't think it ever clicked to me until I became hyper aware of it. Like you're basically responsible for all these people and this production being successful. But what I really loved about this film was his ability to balance when to show something, when not to, and when not to like go overboard. Like one of the biggest challenges in horror with monsters of any kind is if you show too much of the monster and it takes people out, you've ruined the film. But if you don't show enough of it, you don't scare them enough. So he just did such a great job of like showing things when he should and not. So like the very beginning, that opening scene, it's so cool that you see it from the perspective of the shark. You don't actually see the shark yet at that point, which is hadn't really put this together till you said it. Very slasher-like, the way you see things from like Michael's perspective, Jason's perspective. One of my favorite scenes is when they're talking about the body of this girl, and they are like in detail talking about like how bad her body looks, but they don't show it, and they leave that to the viewer's imagination. And I think that that's so clever because you don't need to see it to imagine how badly she was bitten, you know? And that continues throughout the film when like Cooper's talking about like the size of his mouth compared to like the one on the smaller shark. So I thought that was really creative. And I also love how when you see the shark start to appear when they're out at sea, he didn't have them add sound to those parts. Like usually in horror movies, you have jump scares with sound, and like sound is the biggest part of those jump scares. But you didn't need it. Like every single time I see this movie, I'm like, when I see a shark, because it's so unexpected.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't agree.
I don't want to say I don't agree, because I do agree with everything that you're saying, but I just didn't get the same feeling, I guess you can say. But I do agree that that was really good storytelling where it can describe something to you and you can kind of imagine it in your own way. So when they were describing the body, I do think that was really good storytelling, very good writing on that part, where it can kind of make you imagine a specific scene without actually showing you the blood and the gore and everything else that makes a horror movie horror, I guess you can say. But yeah, I guess I'll get into my part of the writing and the pacing. I did not enjoy some of the writing and pacing of this movie. I have been trying to really think of why I didn't enjoy this movie. And I think for me, it felt like a male fantasy movie in a way. It was a male dominated cast. So those main characters were 3 dudes hanging out in the boat. And it felt focused on where only like this mysterious, strong man can do this job, which was Quint, which he didn't end up doing the job, which I did like that they kind of flipped it. It wasn't the mysterious, strong man that actually killed the beast. It was the man that had compassion and was like for trying to protect people. And he was the one that actually ended up killing the beast. So I did appreciate that, but I just felt like, but I don't want to go like full feminist or say like this movie shouldn't exist, but I'm just saying I didn't particularly enjoy it from my lens of life, I guess you can say. Especially in Act 2 when they were all in the little boat and they were pretty much fighting on who is kind of like the alpha of the group, where they all had their strengths and they were kind of like butting heads and going at each other because they all thought they knew what would be the best way to take this thing down. So that whole time I was like, I just want off this boat. I want to go back to the beach and I want to see more people screaming.
Okay, so that's interesting. I honestly am wondering if maybe this film hit a little too close to home at this time for you watching it the first time. Because, or maybe you just didn't see it that way, but I felt like this is not usual for me to say, because when I saw your note about it, I was like, oh, he's right. There is not a lot of like strong female characters in this. But I actually really, really love the whole point of that, because it's literally what's happening today. You have like this working class man that has worked hard his whole life and doesn't respect Hooper, who is this educated man, and they both can't meet in the middle because they think that they have to one up each other. And I think it's such a great commentary on how like just because we have different backgrounds doesn't mean that either of us provides less value. And so the movie like moves on to show like how that relationship evolves. So I actually really love that dynamic in it. And I think that's all I have to say about that part, to be honest. But in general, this movie taught me a lot about being a good filmmaker in general, because when I watched the documentary, Steven Spielberg talked about how many people he had basically rewrite parts of the script. So one, I don't ever want to go into a production like this again, or I would never want this to happen in my life. But basically they started filming without a script being finalized. Like this production was total chaos. And something that happened was that he would have someone like work on it, and then he would take that version and he took it to another person and was like obliterate it, add humor to it. Like he used different people in his life that he trusted for certain things. And at one point, somebody told him like, hey, if you gave Quint a background story like this Indianapolis thing, it would really make it stronger. So I don't know if you know this, but the story Quint told was a true story that actually happened.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No.
So to recap, for anyone who hasn't seen it in a while, the USS Indianapolis was a real thing that happened. And it was basically the USS Indianapolis delivered components of the Hiroshima atomic bomb in July 1945. And on the return trip, it was torpedoed by a Japanese sub and sank in just 12 minutes. And 900 of the 1,200 crew members survived the sinking, but they were stranded in shark-infested waters for 4 to 5 days, and only 316 men were rescued. So that was like a true story that actually happened, and that would have like never been in the script or added to this character if Steven hadn't like continued to like push the script further and ask other people for feedback and those kind of things. And even up until production, the speech that they had originally written was like super long. I don't even remember how long it was. And he was like, this is going to put people to sleep. Like, we need it to be better. So he empowered Robert Shaw, the person who played Quint, to write his own version of it because he was also a good writer. And that scene, like, this shows you what a mess this production was. Robert Shaw was like, I can't deliver this speech like to its full capacity unless you let me actually get drunk for it and like drink. And Steven Spielberg was like, I learned my lesson. I'll never let that happen again. But they basically couldn't film because he was so drunk. He was like slurring his words. So then he was like, please let me do the scene again. I'll get it right this time. And he did. But that kind of just shows you like Steven Spielberg taught me a lot as a filmmaker to like be more trusting in the people and resources you have around you, because I have this like chip on my shoulder that I'm like, well, no, it's not a script by Mandy Spooks if all these other people touch it or anything. But it's like you're letting the greater good, like the project, be compromised out of ego. And like Steven Spielberg never had those moments in this film. Like he continued to like lean on his resources, ask people to push the script further, even if it meant like trusting the actor to give it another go, you know? So like I learned so much about leadership in filmmaking from this documentary. And part of the writing and why I really love it in this film bleeds into characters and casting. So I'll shut up.
Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. But yes, happy accidents. I felt like this is like a lot of like, not necessarily accidents or mistakes, but kind of like, I don't know, like it was meant to be this way, I guess you can say. Like all these things happened for it to come out this way. So all of these handoffs from the scripts and retakes really made it all come together in the end. And that's really interesting to hear because I would have never thought any of this happened.
I know. That's
behind
why.
the scenes. So this is really crazy. And it does have me, I hate to admit it, it does have me rethinking my comments on this movie and my decisions. But I think I'm going to still stick with my rabbit lens from the first time watching this movie and kind of just stick with my guns going forward. But you definitely have given me like a peek behind the curtain and see like what it really takes or what it took to make a movie like this at this time, I guess.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate how it's giving you kind of like the motivation or kind of like, I don't know, your own peek into what it is to be a director and a filmmaker.
Sure.
So I am appreciating this movie more and more as we go through
I
this.
especially thought, I was like, that Indianapolis thing is going to get you because like before I was trying to be a filmmaker, right? I just saw this movie for what it was, for fun. So seeing it now, when Rudy was the one who said it, he was like, that's a true story. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, that actually happened. And to me, that was just like a holy crap, like, sorry, I'm going to go into characters. I'm just going to do it.
It's okay. No, go ahead. We're getting into casting and characters now.
Yeah. So characters, I think, are the strongest part of this movie. Like before even the whole filmmaking thing, they do such a good job of building the stories of the characters and doing that like in such a storytelling way. So like with Brody, as soon as the movie opens on him, they establish that he's new to this town without saying he's the new guy in town, you know, because the wife tells him like, you're not speaking like a person from the island or whatever she says. And so that immediately tells you like, oh, okay, he's new here without having to say like he's new here. But you slowly start to learn more about his story and how he's afraid of the ocean. And then you learn more about Hooper's story throughout the film. And then with Quint, you think he's this like crazy guy. And then you find out that he's been through some like really serious shit. So like the characters in this film, like I don't think I've seen any other film that has the characters built out the way it is in this film, which is another like storytelling inspiration. But a super fun, interesting thing I learned was that Steven Spielberg also made the decision to film at Martha's Vineyard, right, for like the on-location stuff. And he was like, that's such a small population and I want this film to be real. So he decided to make all the supporting actors actual people who lived there. So
cool.
The casting person went out there and stayed there for like a few months, like getting to know people, interviewing them and figuring out like what they could play in this role or like in this movie. And so like less than 10 people, like I would like 6 or 8 people were like professional actors, and everyone else you see in this film was actual people who lived at Martha's Vineyard, which is really cool and I think adds to the storytelling because they were given the opportunity to like build out their own characters and how they would behave in these situations. And when I found that out, I was like, okay, that's so interesting to me because something that really stood out to me watching the film again this time was that there was like real bodies like at the beach. Like there's like a plus size woman that comes out and like not everyone looks like this like perfect body at like a California beach. So when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, that's true. And like it's so intentional that the film feels real, like real people that would go on vacation because he used the people who actually live there. So again, it's just like totally mind blown at the fact that like he made so many decisions that were to make this film real that they could have been like really bad decisions, honestly. Like you're gonna trust all these people who know nothing about acting to act in this huge film you're working on, and trusting like actors to rewrite their speeches, like all these things. So it's just like super inspiring to see like he did all this for the better good of the project, but also to like make people feel good and included in what they were doing, even though it cost him like all these nightmares.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart to use your resources, use what you have available. And hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did not know that he used, or the supporting cast was like the actual town that they were filming, and that's really cool that he did that. But to kind of now go into my point of view of the characters, I did not really like any of the characters in this movie, the three main guys. But now that you're talking, maybe it's because you kind of said that is the point. I'm not supposed to like these people. And maybe that's why I didn't enjoy this movie, because maybe I'm just not getting it. Because number one, Brody, I feel like, and maybe that's just the commentary on real world situations, he knew something bad had happened in the ocean, and yet he was still kind of like he let people like run over him. He let the mayor run over him and say like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to say anything then. I'm not going to say that something crazy just happened in the ocean. And then the same thing with the mayor, where they do find out that that girl had got murdered in the ocean. And then everybody's going back to the beach, but everybody's still scared to get in the water because they don't know if they're going to be next. And then the mayor goes up to this random guy, and I'm not sure who he was exactly, but he was pretty much get in the beach so people can get in the beach and have a good time. So I just hated that character, but maybe that's real life. That's kind of like the politicians of the world, where you have your minions to go out and do this dirty work for you to make you look good. So that's what that scene really stood out to me, was that's how I described that scene. It's like he's doing his dirty work for him to make sure that the town is this perfect place, which it's not, because there's this crazy killer on the loose. So maybe I just got too into it, I guess you can say, and I started disliking the characters, making me dislike the movie. But that's my critique on Brody. I thought he was too much of a pushover, and I'm like, you gotta stand up for what you know is true. There was literally something killing people in the ocean. You're just standing there like nothing happened. And I guess he does redeem himself at the end, where he's actually the one to kill the beast. So I guess there's some character growth there. And then for Quint, I guess that explains why he's this gritty, kind of mean-ish character, because of his whole past that he was explaining. Everything that he's been through kind of like built him up to be this really get off my lawn kind of character. And I'm better than everybody else, and I know what's right because of this and that. So I guess that makes sense why he has that personality now, but I still don't like him. And then, and I guess the character that I relate to the most would be Hooper. I feel like he was kind of like the fresh meat in town, bringing whatever he learned from college, like, oh, this is the way we do it here, so I'm going to apply the same practices here. And I guess I felt a little bit relatable to him, or related in that way, because, like at work, you're like, oh, I just learned this thing. Let me introduce it into this work environment. So I guess that's how I related to him. And I guess he's the most likable character to me.
That's good. I guess, so my first thing is the whole like mayor thing with how you were like, they force one person to get in the water. You literally said that earlier, though. You were like, as soon as one friend gets in, then everyone else wants to get into the beach.
Yes.
So you did say that that's how it works. But yeah, I do think that, I don't know if it's like you were too immersed in the movie that you didn't understand it was commentary, or if it hit too close to home and you're like in denial. I don't know which of the two it is, but I do think that is 100% the point. It's about how politicians always choose profit over people. And so I think that whole dynamic is very realistic. Like, this new person in town doesn't really want to like step on the mayor's toes, because they do work hand in hand. And I don't know if you know, or I don't know if this is accurate, but I think the mayor employs the police. So like the mayor could fire him, I think. So it's technically like his boss. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the comments, because I'm pretty sure that's 99% sure. But I'm like 99% sure that's how it works. So I can see why at first it was hard for him to like put his foot down with the mayor. And then of course that's what gets us to Act 2, where he's finally like, enough is enough and you're going to sign this for us to hire this guy to kill the shark. So I know it does take some time, but I do feel like the characters and the story are very realistic, because that's exactly like what's happening today is like people are trusting politicians that they shouldn't, and like some of the population are just like the guy that's like willing to go get in the beach even though he knows better, just to like stand by the person that they've voted for, you know? So I think what is crazy about this film is that I think the reason it continues to stand the test of time is because that message never freaking changes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you're making a really good point, because I don't like things that are too realistic or that hit too close to home.
Yes.
Specifically, like the new Daredevil, not the movie, the new Daredevil show. It is very on brand what's happening right now in the political climate. And I've only seen one episode, and it was good, but I just don't want to see that story right now. Like, I'm good. I know, I see the story in the news. I hear about it, you know, these different stories that come out in our current political climate. So I'm like, I don't want to watch a TV show about that. And then the same thing with American Horror Story, the clowns one, Cult. It's like, I did not enjoy that season at all, because I'm like, this is real life. Like, I want to escape for a little bit. Let me escape the news for a little bit. Let me just enjoy my little scares here and there. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just picking at my nerves throughout the movie, and I kind of just didn't pick up on those little picks it was giving me. But now that you're bringing that up and making points, I'm like, maybe that's why I did not enjoy this movie.
Yeah, which I figured that maybe that's what it was. So, and that's completely fair, honestly. I'm usually the same way, but thankfully, I think because of what the movie means to me and like the time I saw it in my life, I think that kind of overcomes that whole like, I don't want to be reminded about this right now thing. But I'm glad we're working through this. It's like a little therapy session on why you don't like Jaws.
It really is. All right, well, let's get into something a little less heavy, and let's get into the kills and the scares. I thought the kills were good. I will say the kills were really cool. I like that they did not shy away from showing a little blood here and there, a little blood gushing in mixture with the water and the waves, and that they never showed like a full body, I don't think, but they showed like a severed limb, like when Jaws came and took a bite. There was just like this one leg that was just like floating in water.
It was super like toned too.
Yeah. It was a very nice leg. But yeah, the tip of it was just like gnarled, and you can see like bits and pieces where it was, you know, bit off from. So I did really enjoy that piece, and the blood, you know, that was cool. So no really complaints on the kills or really the scares, but I didn't really feel scared in any scenes, but I know you have a different perspective about that.
Did you genuinely not like gasp or jump scare at all the whole movie?
No, I did not.
Did you watch it with the lights off and really loud? Like,
no, the lights are on.
Oh man, no, it's like an event for us. I make all of the lighting blue like it is right now, and we turn up the sound. It's always at night. Yeah, but no, I don't know why. It's always the parts where Bruce is just like, hello, and then he like disappears again. Because he's kind of like teasing them. He's like, hi, and then he like hides again, you know? So I do want to say one part that I know has gotten a lot of people is the part where Brody and Hooper go out by themselves that first time, and they find that like ship or like that boat that's wrecked, and Hooper goes down to like investigate what went on to get the tooth, and the head pops out.
Yeah.
That's one of the scenes that Mr. Spooks said like really scared him the first time. And it's funny because like not even knowing we were doing this episode, my friend messaged me and was like, oh my God, I watched Jaws last night and that scene got me. And I'm like, that scene never gets me, but apparently it gets a lot of people. So it's just funny how like different scenes affect people differently. But yeah, it's always those parts where it's like not even a sound attached to it, where they just show Bruce and I'm just like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, well, actually, I will add there was one part or one of the scares that I really liked was when they're kind of like at their final showdown between Jaws and the boat. And I think they were like in the undercarriage part of the boat, and they're just hanging out, drinking. But then it starts like bashing into the boat and into the sides of the boat, and like everything starts cracking and the water starts kind of slowly dripping in. So I did really like that scene. That was pretty scary. If like I was in that boat, I'd be terrified that this huge scary shark is like ramming into this boat trying to kill me. So that part was scary. I will give it that.
Yeah.
So we'll get into the practical effects and CGI for this movie. So I really only know that they used practical effects in this movie because of Universal Studios. So they have the machine there, the Jaws animatronic there. So I'm assuming that's the same shark. I'm not sure if it is or not, but I know they have like little clips when you're like driving down into the lot, and it's giving you like these fun facts and letting you know that the animatronic used have like all these like difficulties because of salt water or something like that. So I do respect a movie when it uses practical effects and tries to use actual objects in their movies to portray their monsters. So I don't know. I thought that was really cool that they did that.
Yeah, for sure. And I learned, so it's kind of funny how like all of this is happening at the same time for me. So we're working on the practical effects for our short film right now, of as far as like how we're gonna do it with such a small budget. And like one of the props we needed, Rudy was like, we need 3 of them. And I was like, why do we need 3 of the same thing? I was like, what do you mean we need 3? Like, we're on a budget. And like I said, that's like the number one ongoing conversation is like the budget. And so I was like, I think he's making it more difficult than it needs to be. And then I found out they built 3 sharks for this movie. So I was like, oh my gosh, that is so funny for different reasons. But so for this one, they made 3 different versions because I guess at the time they couldn't make something like so advanced that could move in like every direction. So like one of them was to move from like left to right, and then the other was right to left. I don't remember what the 3 versions were. Sorry, I'm distracted by my hair. Yeah, I was really surprised to learn that they had 3 different sharks, and apparently they were never working, like you said. Good job on that little trivia there, because they didn't anticipate what the salt water was going to do to it. So they had like an ongoing joke that anytime Bruce wasn't on set, he was in maintenance trying to be worked on. So yeah, I found that very interesting. And they didn't really talk much about like the other practical effects in the movie, but same. I agree. Like I think they did a really good job, especially for that time.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say that I love the studio lot tour at Universal Studios, and that is definitely like one that you look forward to just because it's coming when you do it, and it is a very exciting part of the tour. So I will just wanted to bring that up again.
Wait, sidetrack. I'm gonna sidetrack really quick. Have you heard about the guy that like fell overboard into the Jaws ride?
No.
There's like
okay?
all these. I think so. But there's all these TikToks about people who have this like fear of like characters or animatronics in water. And so I'm like, I think I'd be one of those people, because if I was in the water, even with like a fake Jaws, I would lose my shit. Like that sounds so scary.
Yeah, not only that, but I don't know if you remember, but there's fire. Like they light the water on fire, so they release whatever liquid, and they light like the top of the water on fire. So that's on fire, and then there's like an animatronic moving up and down and splashing. So that is terrifying to be dropped into that specific water.
I know.
Because so many things could go wrong. You get crushed, you get burned, drown. I don't know. That's danger for sure.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And then the last thing I was going to share was the ride is not the original, but I did find out that, so there's this huge Jaws exhibit, I think, I don't remember. It's this new museum in California that's like the motion picture Oscar something. Oh my God, I should know that. That's embarrassing. But anyway, they have one of the actual sharks from the film that they restored. So it took like 6 or 9 months to restore him, and he's like hanging. Oh, I want to go see it so bad.
That sounds cool. Okay, one thing I did want to ask, I don't know if they brought it up in the documentary, but there was a scene when they think they caught Jaws and they hang it up on display, and like everybody's like taking pictures with it, and it's like a huge photo op. Was that a real shark or was that practical effects? I don't know if they talked about that in the...
They didn't talk about it, but I feel like it was probably fake. If they made Jaws, I'm sure they could have made, because that was like the baby shark they caught that they were like, this was the
Right.
one, and Hooper's like, no, it is not.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it was fake. I feel like it'd be a huge controversy, and we would know if it was real.
Well, I would just say that's a good job, because at first I was like, did they just get a real shark and just lift it up? Because it looked legit. It really looked like a real shark. And I bring that up because I'm not to bring in another movie into this, but Friday the 13th, when I saw Friday the 13th, there's a scene in there where a snake comes out of like under the bed, like out of one of the little huts they have there. And one of the guys runs in with like a machete and just like chops off the snake's head. And I was like, oh my God, that looked really real. So then I had Googled it, and it was an actual snake that they killed. So I'm like, oh my God, did they actually kill a shark to just hang it up on display for this movie?
No, but okay. So I remember I was so shocked and upset by that. Honestly, that's why I'm telling you. I feel like if it was, we would know by now.
Yeah.
But I did want to add that they had actual shark experts and like people who are pros at filming like sharks in the wild. They had them. So what they did was they did like drawings of what each scene was going to look like, and then they gave those to those like experts and were like, can you please try to capture sharks doing this? So the scene where Hooper's in the cage and the shark is like attacking that cage, they actually put a cage out with real sharks and filmed the sharks like hitting the cage. And they had like a ton of different footage of like real sharks that they would use throughout the film. So that basically they had to use what they had and make it work within the film. Because again, they couldn't have like actual like fake sharks do what they wanted, and they couldn't force the real life sharks to do what they wanted. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I had no idea that they had gone and gotten like real sharks in the wild for some of that footage.
No, yeah, because some of the scenes just look so realistic, so that makes sense that it was real sharks.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the themes and the symbolisms for this movie. So for me, the main thing that really stuck out to me was that humans are the real monsters. Honestly, I was rooting for the shark the entire movie. I was rooting for Jaws. I was just like, come on, just kill all of these people. Because bad people will always put their own interest before anyone else. I think we already touched on that, but that's like the main thing that really stuck with me, that they would put their own interests before other people. Even that people were still dying, continue to die, they would still put their own interests. And I feel like it's just like that's a wrong way to respond to a crisis, where you're just sweeping it under the rug, like, oh no, nothing's happening here, everything's good at the beach, there's definitely not a shark killing people here. Because there will come to a point where you can no longer contain your lies, and your lies will just bite you in the end, no pun intended.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I revisited this for like the original podcast of this like in 2022, I think. And back then it was so powerful because it reminded me of COVID, how it was like no one trusted science over all of these conspiracy theories, right? And then now it's still true for another reason. So this is definitely, the theme of this is mistrust in the government and profit over people. But I thought it was super interesting, and I did learn this from the documentary, that this actually came out 10 months after the Watergate scandal with Nixon. Did you hear about that?
No. I mean, I know what it is, but I didn't know it was like the timelines kind of lined up together.
So I'm going to share this because I did not know about this. I'm very bad with history. The more I learn about it, the more I'm upset about it.
Yes.
But I wanted to share this quick like snippet with you guys because in case anyone else doesn't know or doesn't know about history like me, the Watergate scandal began in 1972 when 5 men were caught breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate office complex, trying to bug phones and steal documents. It was soon revealed that they were tied to President Nixon's re-election campaign, and Nixon himself helped cover it up, authorizing hush money and attempting to obstruct the FBI. After 2 years of investigation, secret White House tapes exposed his involvement, leading to his resignation in August 1974. Just 10 months before Jaws hit theaters in June 1975. The scandal destroyed public trust in government, making audiences especially wary of leaders who downplayed danger, like the Jaws mayor insisting the beaches were safe. So I think that this definitely added to the success of the movie. Yeah. And I don't even think they realized that freaking 50 years later, it would still resonate over and over again. So it's just crazy. But on a different, I don't think it's a lighter note, but it's off the politics. I also think a third theme in this movie could be that you can't escape your fate or death, you know, like very Final Destination. I found it very poetic that Quint still ends up dying by a shark. Like, he escaped it once, and he still died that way. So it's just kind of like, I think what's meant to be will be. Like, even if you run from it, you know? So, I don't know. It's just, you're right. Thinking about it, it's kind of a downer movie. But they make it very fun.
Yeah. They had a good twist to it, where it kind of made you forget
what it was about.
Point. Well, yeah, exactly. Alrighty, so let's get into our final wrap-up. Our last notes for this movie. One thing we did not bring up was the score, the music. I mean, anything John Williams makes is just expected to be good. So, I mean, it was really good. The music was really good. I know this movie has several sequels. They do not have as high rating. I looked that up as the first one, which makes sense because the sequels sometimes usually are always a mess. But I'm curious, I probably won't ever watch them, but I am curious to know, what are they about? Like, is it the same plot? Did, Jaws have babies and now the babies are back for revenge or something?
Little baby Bruceys.
Yeah. Maybe there's honestly, like a huge crowd of them coming all at once. I don't know.
Like Sharknado. Sharknado's actually really fun. Have you watched Sharknado? No. It's ridiculous. Well, never mind. You don't like cryptids, period. So, but anyway, I've seen them. We saw them all that year in 2019, but I don't remember them. I'd asked Mr. Spooks. The second one is basically like the exact same story, but with like a couple different characters, different kills. The third one takes place at an amusement park, apparently, or at a water park. So I kind of want to rewatch that one. And I don't know about the fourth. So I don't think it's like a continuing storyline. It's just like a different thing happens. No Bruce babies.
But maybe we're onto something. Bruce babies.
Yeah. I guess for my wrap up, I think my biggest takeaway was that as a filmmaker, I had no idea what a mess this production was. And I say that in the best way, of course. And it's more shocking to me because as I was watching the film this time, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to find something to critique for the podcast, of course. I had nothing except like literally the smallest scene. There's like a part where Brody is talking and like mid-sentence, they were probably like, okay, this goes on too long. So they like cut him off and fade into the next scene. And that's like the only thing I can find wrong with this film. And I think that is just insane considering the fact that they didn't even have the script finalized when they started filming, that like all of these issues happened, that they improvised so many things because of like the mechanics of the shark not working, all of those things. So for me, it was just like, I already knew this. It takes a village to make something at this capacity. But at the same time, it was just really like a big lesson for me to like leave my ego at the door as a filmmaker. Like there is no room to have pride. And I've learned that a lot over the last couple of months with like losing my job and having support from you and Rudy and all the Ghoulster squad. Like nothing that matters can ever be done by one person.
Yeah. definitely takes a village to accomplish these massive dreams for sure. And this movie in particular, now that I learned everything, took how much energy and stress it took to actually make this movie become a thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to say, too, I feel like we didn't even mention this, but this would not have been possible without the book. I don't even know if you knew it was a book first.
I did see it was based on a book.
Yeah, and I've never read it, so I feel like I should definitely read it, considering how much the film means to me. I guess I'm kind of like worried I'm going to be let down by it at this point, to be honest.
Maybe. Or maybe it'll be better. They always say the book's better.
Maybe. All right, Ghosters, it's time for It's Freaking Bats. So, Rabbit, on a scale of 1 to 5, how many bats would you rate this film?
Okay, I'm going to proceed with caution.
No, give us your original rating, and if it changed, okay, and if it didn't, that's okay too.
Okay, so I am probably going to lose all of my credibility when I give my rating, but I will preface this by saying, 1, I don't think I'm the target audience for this movie. 2, I do not like cryptids. I do not like those kind of movies. I don't like those kind of stories. They don't interest me. So going off of that, I think I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 bats for me. I don't think I will ever honestly rewatch this movie. I do respect everything that went behind producing this movie, and I do understand why it's loved so much. Especially after this whole discussion, because I just learned new things about this movie that I now respect it a little bit more. But from my lens of watching a horror movie and being, I guess, on a horror spooky podcast, for me, it's a 2 out of 5 bats. If I'm rating it from like a more film aspect, like creating the film and the story behind it and the themes behind it, maybe it would be a higher rating, but for me, I think I'm going to stay at a 2 out of 5 bats. What about you?
I feel like in Star Wars, when, do you know what I'm going to say? When Queen Amidala is like, "You're breaking my heart."
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I was wrong about this. Dang, that is so low. I cannot believe it. Okay, I give this film 5 freaking bats, or should I say sharks. I think that it has stood the test of time. Even though it is not your typical horror film, it still does a very effective job of showing you all the blood and kills that you want to see in a very creative way. Like sometimes it shows you a lot, sometimes it leaves enough to the imagination. And for the time that it was made, the storytelling and pacing is incredible. The character development in this is a true inspiration for a screenwriter. And all in all, it is a super fun watch. Like, I could watch this any day, any summer, and still feel all the surprises I did the first time.
That's fair. And I'm glad that you're here to kind of offset my such low, my haterade. But there are 10% of us in the world. So if you're one of those 10%, please leave a comment and just be on my side. or if you're on my side, I don't leave a comment so you also maybe didn't enjoy this movie as much as other people. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I really do think, like, I do get it as far as, like, I don't want to be reminded about that, which is why I try very hard to make my channel a completely, like, political free zone, because we all need to, like, disconnect sometimes, especially because horror is your way of disconnecting. So I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, and before we part ways for the week, let's have a little moment of Be Kind Rewind. We're all about the vibes here, so if this film hit just right, here are a few spooky picks you can rewind to match the mood, the madness, or the mayhem. What's your pick, Rabbit?
So I struggled with this because I don't, like I said before, I don't like cryptids. I kind of went into Google. I'm like, what are like similar movies to Jaws? And they're all other cryptid movies are based in the ocean, like Meg and Sharknado, or the Meg and Sharknado. So I don't have anything. I couldn't think of anything that matched this movie. The one thing that popped into my mind was like Anaconda, but I don't think that really holds a light to this movie. And I get that, I understand that, but yeah, I don't have really anything, and I hope you have something better to make up for it.
Well, thankfully I do, and I talked about it earlier. In season 1, Lake Placid. So Mr. Spooks had asked me to watch this summer at some point, and I was like so resistant towards it. And same thing, like I loved it. I actually feel like Lake Placid goes harder on the kill scenes than this one does. Like they're very shocking. I was always like I gasped a few times. I would say I got more scared in Jaws, like jump scares in Jaws, but the kills in Lake Placid are so fun, so cool, and unexpected. So if you guys love Jaws, then I highly recommend Lake Placid. And in general, if you just want like a fun summer centric slasher with sharks, Shark Night is a fun one. It's not like one of the best films. I feel like Jaws is unique because it's like a good film, like objectively from a cinematography, filmmaking perspective, you know. But Shark Night is like, you're gonna have fun watching it. Like, it's not because you're gonna watch a 5-star film, it's because you're gonna have fun watching it.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what you need. You just need a fun watch.
You're like, I wish I would have had that this week. Next week. Oh no, not next week. Next summer, coming to Not Another
Next
Spooky
summer,
Podcast.
yes.
Shark Night. All right, Goldsters, we hope you had a bloody good time hanging out with us today. We are watching the new I Know What You Did Last Summer at the theater this weekend, so we'll see you here next Monday with our freshly popped horror review.
And remember, keep horror alive and watch something spooky this weekend.
Until next time, sending you ghouls and kisses. Bye.
Bye.
Ha 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 ha!